meeting is being recorded.
Welcome everybody to episode 312 of NoCoders Office Hours. I'm your host, Tanya. We're getting started in just a moment with our members Ritesh, John, and Jordan. But if this is your first time tuning into Office Hours, we do this 6 times per week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 a.m. Pacific time, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific time, and Mondays we have a second session at 8:30 p.m. Pacific time. And our members can come to these Zoom sessions and ask us any bubble or no-code questions that they might have, and we do our best to answer them. So if you'd like to come in and ask your bubble questions, please go sign up at pronocoders.com today. Welcome, John and Jordan. I don't remember who came first. I think John by the list that I see.
I agree with it. I think John was ahead of me.
Okay. John, do you have any questions today?
Yes, it's quite a complicated one. So, Jordan, how complicated is your question? Because it might be better for you to go first.
No, I mean, I'm patient. I'm just working in the background. So.
Okay, cool.
It's all right.
Right. Let me show you my screen. I've even done you a diagram so that it hopefully makes it a bit easier to understand. So.
Well, thank you.
New report to create because I went to this hackathon at the weekend and I was showing them what's in here and that everyone was really interested in this, so I sort of mocked it up, but now I need to actually build it for real. So this is a different kettle of fish to what we've been doing before to some degree, so because it uses a different API which I've already got set up, so we don't need to worry, I don't think, too much about the actual API bit, but it's the logic around. So this API, what it does is you have to pass it the property and then a URL. So if you want to go through all the URLs that pertain to a property, you have to pass them individually. So you have to do a recurring workflow basically to say, okay, for Neural Candy, pass this URL, get the results, then pass this URL, get the results, etc., etc. And it will bring back all of this stuff. Okay. So my diagram looks something like this. So I'd like to run it weekly. So this is all back-end workflow stuff. So for each property in the all properties table, so you know a user can have one property up to 10 properties, take that property, make the API call get pages, which will retrieve all the pages that pertain to that property. And obviously we need to do it for each property. And then take the result of step 1, which is the property plus each page, and then make another API call with this data, which is the URL inspection API, which takes a property plus a page. And then we'll have to do that each second and pass it a new page from this list each time. And then return the data I get back in the API, from the API in the database, plus the date that this was all done, so the date we fetched it. And then when we run it again the following week, I need to clear out what's already in the database and start again.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. Total sense. We just have to, we're working with 2 different dynamic numbers of things, right? So there's the total number of properties, and then each property will have a total number of pages. Yeah. And we have to be able to count that all out as we're doing it. And you want this to be done for all of your users?
Yeah.
Properties? Okay.
Yeah.
This is definitely something I would do with Xano instead of Bubble. We can do it with Bubble, but it's not scalable at all. Yeah. Because my guess is a website can have like a total number of pages. Are you going to limit the number of pages they can get this data for?
The API already limits it for me, and I'm already limiting my data anyway. So I think we could probably get it going in Bubble and then move it to Xano as the numbers increase. So
yeah, absolutely.
The total number of pages won't exceed 2,000 in terms of per property. And you can only have a maximum of 10 properties. So you're talking a total of 20,000 possible URLs per user.
But that's per user,
Yeah.
right? And you're talking, but I mean, so when you're running these things, you'd be running them per user. So you would do one user stuff, and then you do the next ones, and then the next ones.
Yeah.
And when you're separating things out by a second a piece, which you might end up doing more, depending on like how long it's taking to get things done.
Yeah.
Like it's just going to take too long to get it done.
Yeah.
So, but let's go ahead and start. So the first step is every week. So just go into your backend workflows. So just start with a new API workflow. And I think for this one, we're just getting the data, right? So
shall I keep this diagram up by the side of us so we can see that? Is that going to be easier?
So for each, so it's each user, then it's each property, and then it's each URL. Is there a list of the URLs on the property in your data type?
Is there a list of the URLs and the property in the data type? No, because we've not had to worry about storing the URLs before. So we know the properties are stored, but at the moment the URLs, so the pages aren't stored anywhere.
Right. Okay. So here I would and what you're storing when you bring it back is going to be, what are you going to call this, the data that you're returning that you're storing?
This stuff here that I'm storing and returning is index data, index inspect data.
Index inspect data. Okay. And that's going to be related to a property, and by default, a user who owns that property.
Yeah.
And it's also going to have the URL.
Yeah.
All right. So we really just need a list of properties to start with.
Yeah.
So let's click to add an action and do make changes to a list of things. So go to data things, make changes to a list of things, and the type of things is going to be property. And do a search for all properties. Yep. And then do you have like an active or inactive property?
It doesn't matter for this. So we have that default property, but it doesn't really matter which is default in this case because we're going to fetch them for all.
Got it. So we're going to pass that list into another workflow because we're going to grab, for each property, we have to go and get the list of the pages or the URLs, right?
Yeah.
So let's name this workflow. We'll call this the start. And you maybe even just put like a numbers in front, like 01 start.
Okay.
All right. And it's going to give you an issue because it's not going to like the fact that you put a space or a capital letter in that name. So we can just make it. And Bubble is so weird because they don't tell you that it's a problem except in the issues. Like,
okay.
Should really resolve red. That's what we're used to.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's click to add another backend workflow. So, and it'll also be an API workflow. And we'll name this one O2 pages or something like that. Get pages. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and add a new parameter. And it's going to be properties of type property and make it a list.
Yeah.
All right. And then in this one, the action that you're going to have is going to be where you're running the API call to get the list of pages.
Yeah. That is. Get pages. Yeah.
Okay.
So now the site URL is the sort
It's
of.
going to be the property first items. Yeah. And it'll probably be URL. Yeah.
Yeah. Start date can be.
By the way, I think I saw Callum enter. Hi, Callum.
Yeah.
Hey,
Current date
you all right?
time plus days.
Yep.
-2.
Will you be off today? Isn't it a holiday there?
It is a holiday, but I'm kind of taking it off, kind of not.
Fair enough. Did you have a good weekend?
I did.
Good.
How about you?
Yeah, pretty quiet one. Just Indy 500 and Monaco Grand Prix, but yeah, not too bad. How about you, John? Good one?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. I was at that hackathon for most of the times. That was quite good fun, actually. There's some quite good sort of ideas and stuff there.
Nice.
Current date time. Oh, I don't need that, actually. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So that is
So that should give us back a list of pages.
right. And so now we have to put that return. We have to start sending a new API call with the property and the page, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then add a new backend workflow. This is what I call daisy chaining. And then this one is 03, and then whatever makes sense to call it, like. Just remember there's no spaces and no
Yeah.
capitals.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're gonna have two parameters. You're gonna have properties or just property, just one
Yeah.
property here.
Which is text, isn't it? 'Cause there's no URL, is there? No. Okay. Yeah. And then we're going to have page.
Pages, yeah.
Okay.
Just thinking though. Actually, I think let's pass all of the properties in here. I'm just thinking because we want to, at the end of this, we're going to send the properties minus the first property back into the second API workflow.
Yeah.
So let's send it, so properties of type property and make it a list.
Yep.
And then go ahead and name it properties instead of property, just so we know what we're working with.
Yep.
And then it'll be pages, and those will be text, but it'll also be a list, right?
Yep.
And so I would just name it pages instead of page.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. And then from here, we're going to make that next API call. So getting the information per page. So click to add an action.
Hang on. because what I'll need to do is make this an action-based one.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And you'll probably need to reinitialize for that to work.
Yeah, I might do. Let's worry about it because I'll have to re-authenticate. So let's see how we get on. So
here's where you would make the next API call. That's where you're sending in the property and the page.
there it is. Okay. So we'll have
And
to worry
so
about that. Yeah.
the property will be the property's first item. And the page will be the page's first item.
Okay.
All right. Now we're going to go into the click to add an action and go and schedule this very same workflow. Actually, after you do that step one, we need to save it to the database. So data, create a new thing.
Yeah.
And it's going to be that index thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because I created the table already for this. So yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And this is where you're storing the results of step one. And then
no, this is where I'm storing the results of step 3 is in here. If you see what I mean.
No. Step one of this workflow.
Oh, I see. Right. Sorry.
Yep. So the previous step is where you're getting the information for that property and the page, and this is where you're going to store it.
Yeah. So I now need to map these to the different fields in the database. Do I take it? Because this is what comes back from the API, and I need to tell it which field in the database to map it to. Is that right?
Exactly. Yep. So you would just you could click coverage state, and then it'll be results of step one, and then whatever maps to coverage state.
Yeah, I did.
Yep.
Cunningly name them quite straightforward. But why don't we just leave that one in for now rather than do the rest?
Perfect.
Okay, because I'm going to have to do some tweaking now to do. I'm going to have to change the authentication and stuff like that. So
so now what we need to do is click to add another action.
Yeah.
And it's going to schedule the third API workflow again. So go ahead and schedule API.
Okay. How do you schedule them?
Oh, just custom events. Schedule API workflow. There you go. And now it's going to be the third one, index inspection.
Yeah.
All right. And you'll schedule it. I would schedule it current date and time. This is where I would add a second, try it and see if that's enough time.
And is that just +1?
Yep, just one. Actually, you don't need the plus, just one.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the properties here is going to be properties, and you're just going to leave it. It's just going to be properties. The pages is going to be pages minus item.
Yeah.
And then pages first item.
Oh, to do the recursive, right? Okay, to step through them. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. All right. So now we're going to go back to step one in this workflow. Nope, not the workflow one. Step one. There you go. Now we're only going to do this when pages count is greater than 0. And then you can copy that expression and paste it in step 2 and also in step 3.
Okay, so that loops through and then stops. Right. Okay. Yeah.
Now what we're going to do is add a step 4.
Yeah.
And the step 4 is going to be to schedule another API workflow.
Yeah.
This time it's going to be the second workflow,
Yeah.
and it can be current date and time. You don't need to add a second or anything here. And then the properties is gonna be properties minus item, properties first item.
Minus item properties. First
And then
item.
first item.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And you're only going to do this. Go ahead and paste the expression that you have, but we're going to switch it around and say less than 1.
Okay. Got you. Yeah.
Oh, but change the 0 to 1.
Oh, sorry.
And the reason we're doing that is because the third one is going to loop 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 until it runs out of pages. And then it's going to send in the properties minus the first property into that second pages. And that's how the recursive workflow is going to work. That's how you're going to get through all of the
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
now we
Okay.
just need to add in the step 2. I think that's it. I think that's all we have to do.
Okay. How do we know
Bye, Natesh.
how do we know the date fetched part?
So you're just going to use the current date and time. Like when you create the data type,
Yeah.
the created date will be the date fetched.
So it
essentially.
stores that automatically, does it? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Cool. Okay. Right. Let's park that there. Thank you for that. And I'll fiddle with the authorization and add in the other stuff in, and then see how we get on. Cool. Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome.
And I'll see if I can make Bubble crash when we run all that.
Yeah, because the other two aren't. Yeah, so let's make the first one recursive on a weekly basis. So if you click into your first API workflow, you're going to add an action, and it's going to schedule itself to run in 1 week.
So schedule this, yeah.
Uh-huh.
If you get start crashing Bubble, let me know. I have plenty of ideas to help.
And it'll be the first one.
Yeah.
And you'll say current date and time plus 1 week.
So that's just days.
7 days. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't need conditions on that because you want it to run every time that workflow is run for both of them.
Yeah.
And then click into the second API workflow. So now let's schedule the third one. So click to add an action. Yep. And it'll be to schedule the third one. And the scheduled date and time will be current date and time. And the properties will just be properties. And the pages will be the result. Yep. And you need to grab the pages. Scroll down. It's like each item's, it'll be each item's something.
Well,
right?
keys. It will be keys, won't it?
Yep.
Yeah, because keys, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And then you can do this one only when, you can do these two only when properties count is greater than 0.
Okay, and apply that to this one as well.
Yep.
Cool. Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
Fabulous.
Awesome.
Thank you.
That was not too
That
bad.
wasn't as complicated as I thought. So we shall see.
Awesome.
See what happens when we actually try and run it.
Perfect.
So how do
Jordan.
I go ahead.
Trigger
it? Is part of
Yeah. So you the way I trigger these is I just go in on a test page. You just have to do it once on a test page. You just put a button and and on that button you schedule the workflow to run at the date and time you want it to start.
Yeah, got you. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Thank you.
Jordan, how can I help?
Oh, I'm here. All right. I'm having trouble with the Outlook OAuth. I think that's how you say it.
Okay.
Are y'all hearing an echo also by chance?
I do not hear an echo. I hear you okay.
Okay, let's go. All right, let me share my screen.
I'll preface this by saying that I'm probably going to ask you to come back when Cameron is available.
Okay, that's fine. No problem. Let's see here. I can never see my toolbar whenever the zoom out looks over it, or zoom drop down bars go over it.
I'm
Okay,
so
so I
ready
followed.
for a Zoom competitor.
Yeah. So what I did, I followed Coach No Code Apps, excuse me, video about how to set up Microsoft's OAuth. And what I found was when I put these in, this is like the Bubble Apps version of it. It works fine. But whenever I put in my own personal domain, I'm having trouble with it working. So I guess I'm just hoping to troubleshoot that.
Gotcha. So it works when you just put bubbles in, and it doesn't work when you put your own in?
Correct. So I've got, this is my domain up here. And then when
It
I click
might, so I know for Google's OAuth, they require that it's not on like a that you do the OAuth on your primary domain. And so since you don't have a primary domain until you actually add a domain in Bubble, that might be the issue. It might just be requiring you to go ahead and put your own domain on Bubble, and then you can use that URL
Okay.
instead.
I think I might have done that though, if I understand you correctly.
Go to domain.
Domain.
Yeah. Nope, you don't. You don't have your own domain set up yet.
Okay.
So after you set up your own domain, then you should be able to take and use your own domain's URL for the redirect. And that, I know that works for Google. I know for Google, we have to have our own domain in order to utilize OAuth. They don't
Okay.
let us do a subdomain.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
And then
Have you
if
ever
I can,
set up the domain before?
I don't know if I have. Probably not, since I don't know what you're talking about.
Let me show you how. That way you'll have a something to fall back on when it's time. So I use GoDaddy personally for mine. Are you using GoDaddy for your registrar or something else?
I'd use Google Domains, but I'm open to GoDaddy.
Okay, Google domains should be fine. The main thing is you just need to be able to and I'll just take this off screen. You just need to be able to change the DNS records. So hang on just a sec. Two-factor authentication. Let's see here. Okay, and so when you go to any of your domains and you want it to point to Bubble, so I'm just going to go into like my DNS management. This is for GoDaddy. Right now, this particular domain that I have, Co-Creative Apps, is not pointing to Bubble. It's just parked at GoDaddy. For what I'm showing you is how to do this with GoDaddy. It'll be a little bit different with Google domains. For me, I'm going to delete this record, this top one, the A record, because it's not pointing to where I need it to point. So I just click delete. And then the CNAME here with the www, I also happen to know I need to delete that one in order for this to work. So
Okay.
I'm going to delete it. For you, you might just be able to change them, but for me, I have to delete them because of GoDaddy. So then I'm going to add records to replace those two and also add two more. So the first one I'm going to add is I'm going to add another A record, and actually they're all going to be A records, but I'm going to put the @ symbol here for the name. And then these, when you enter in Bubble, when you come in to your settings and into domain here, I'm just going to say here, cocreativeapps.com, because that's the one that I'm setting up in GoDaddy at the moment. I'm going to set up this domain, and Bubble is going to tell you, I'll just enter 0 here for now. Bubble's going to tell you I need 4 A records, 2 of them with blank names and 2 of them with www. And then it's going to tell me the value for each one.
Okay.
And I've done this enough that my computer remembers those. I don't have to retype them in. There's just 2 of them. I'll just do a half hour here and add this record. And then I'm just going to do that 3 more times, but for the other types. So I'll add another one. It'll be an A record. It'll be an @ because GoDaddy doesn't let me leave it blank. And then I'll choose the second one on the list. And then I just choose the default here, like the first one, and add record. I just have to add those 4 records. Now I'm just going to switch to www because Bubble says the second 2 have to be www. And then the first one. And then last one, I'm just going to add an A record. It's going to be www, and I'll pick the second one. And it'll take a few minutes. And then when I go to cocreativeapps.com, it will point to this app instead of being parked on GoDaddy. So if I go to CoCreative, oh, it's already working. Maybe not. Nope, it hates me. It'll take it a second, but eventually it'll point to Bubble and it will work. Oh, I know why. I haven't deployed this to live. So version test. And yep, looks like it worked this time. Yep, and that's how you set up your records to point your domain at your Bubble app. So now this Bubble app, I can go to it with cocreativeapps.com instead of the maysandbox22.bubbleapps.io.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Callum,
Hello.
can I help?
I did have a question. It's the question that I put in the Slack channel. I assume it's probably not probably more of a JavaScript question, but I thought I'd ask.
Oh yeah, no, I saw your question and I've never worked with it. We can try. I don't mind trying.
I mean, it's a discontinued plugin, so what's there is there, so there's no one to talk to about it. Yeah, Flickety. Just type Flick and it will come up. Yeah. So obviously the issue is, I mean, I know you can turn a repeating group into a carousel, but obviously you can never just get one slide on a horizontal scrolling group. It always shows the next bit of the next one if the page width changes. So Flickety lets you create one group and then put lots of other groups inside it and then flick those across. The issue is they're all visible on the page, even though you can actually only see one of them, they're all visible, which means you can't do anything based on when one is visible and one isn't. I've tried it with the, is this element visible on the page, plugins and stuff like that. Can't work out how to do it, but it would be great if I could, because at the moment I've got in recipes, I've got American, Italian, Spanish, whatever food, and I've had to put a repeating group under each of them. What I'd like to do is obviously just change the data source of the repeating group when they're flicked through, because it will save me a shitload of API calls.
Can you show this to me?
Sorry?
Can you share your screen and show me what you're trying to do?
Yeah, of course. Please don't moan at me for changing my home screen again.
You do you, Callum. You do you.
I said, please don't moan at me for changing my home screen again.
I know, and I said, you do you, Callum. You do
I thought you said I can't hear you, Callum.
No, you do you.
You do me do me. No, not you do me do me.
What? No.
Not that one. I'm tired, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can tell.
Not good. So if I go to food here, and go to recipes, so I've got this flickety thing here. I can slide across, and obviously this is doing a search. The word it's searching for is chicken, so I'm seeing all my chicken related recipes. But the problem is that's a repeating group, that's a repeating group, that's a repeating group, and they're all they're different repeating groups, if you get what I mean. So they're doing an API call for each of them. What I'd like to do is have the repeating group outside of the flickety thing, and just know which group is visible, because then that way I can just change the data source based on which group is visible. So yeah, that's my thing.
All right, let me rephrase the problem. Forget flickety. You have a picture of a particular recipe type, right? Like chicken or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you click the next button and you go to a different kind, right? Like you're flicking, but in essence, you're going to the next thing on the list, right? And then you have a repeating group.
Yes, but I like the swipe. That's why it's there. I know I could just do this with a thing.
The Tinder pile. Yeah. So
and Tinder pile won't let you swipe in a straight line. Well, you can, but you have to move your finger in a straight line. It just swipes like a Tinder pile, funnily enough. Yeah.
So show me the editor and show me what you have in Flickety.
It's in here somewhere, I promise. There we go. Then, so you got, this one has the ID attribute, and then inside here you got your different cards, and then inside each of them is a repeating group. So they're massive groups. It's not just the top, it's the whole thing. I'd like it just to be the top, so I can slide the top and the data source of this changes, rather than just showing a different repeating group.
All right, so, but that doesn't, so I see the recipes group, but the recipes is, where's Flickety coming into play?
So that's the thing with the, so that's the main group, the holder group, ID attribute of recipe. And then when we go to, actually, no, it's not, sorry. It's when we go to subnav food. There we go. food sub nav.
I feel like I'm missing the top of your gray like editor thing. I can't see what we're in, and it's inhibiting me from understanding. Can you drag it down so I can see?
See what? Sorry, you can see this workflow, right?
Yeah, but the gray editor, the like element inspector or editor or whatever you call it. Okay, recipes button just clicked. Okay.
Oh yeah, so and then you do flickety carousel group ID, and that's that. Yeah. So that's what does some JavaScript stuff and puts them all together and shows 1, 2, 3, 4 rather than just all of them in one place.
Okay, and then flickety carousel doesn't have a
element, no.
It doesn't have an element. Okay.
I'm assuming there's no way to do it with Flickety. I'm just wondering if there's some way to do JavaScript. And the problem is I imagine they are all actually stacked on top of each other, and then at no point are they ever hidden on the screen. So I don't even know.
I'm fine. Where's the data source? Then go back to design.
So there's no data source for the Flickety thing because it's.
Yeah, but you have to have a data source to be showing the information. So where's the data coming from?
To be showing what information? The repeating group?
Yeah. The repeating group or the card itself, the upper part of the card.
The card has no data type. This is manually typed in. See, American cuisine, image is static. The only part here is this, which is the API call.
Got it. And you just want to make the repeating groups data source dynamic based on which card is showing.
Exactly. Because at the moment I have a repeating group in every single card. I'd like to make the card a lot shorter so it's only that top bit and know which card is showing, because then I can change the data source based on the repeating group, based on the card.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to play with this column. This is like, I think I get what you're trying to do, and I just don't think I would have set it up this way. So let me try to do something similar.
I mean, it's possible with a couple of plugins and a horizontal repeating group, because the only issue is obviously the horizontal repeating group doesn't stretch. It just adds another bit of the column on the side. This one has a single image like right in the center, because you can just do a single cell horizontal repeating group, put the when current cell is active plugin thing in there, and it will tell you exactly which one it is. But that doesn't give me the full screen image that the other one does.
Well, I think we just need a way to make both things dynamic, right?
In what way?
Well, you've hard-coded 5 different groups, but really we should just have one group, and then what's being shown is dynamic in that group.
I mean, yeah, I agree, but the only issue, like with Flickety, there's no other functions or data it returns. It's just that.
Right. Well, I'm just thinking that let me play around with it and I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
And you're on the old responsive, right?
Yep.
All right. So I'm going to do a repeating group and another repeating group. And this one will be horizontal. And you could get this working with Flickety, right? To do the flick thing?
You don't use Flickety, but there's another one to turn it into a carousel, yeah.
right. It's going to come in here. In your database, do you have like a recipe type?
No, 'cause it's an API call.
So you're making an API call to get the types?
No, I've just put them in manually. I went through the API documentation, worked out what the different types of food were, and created the 5 different tiles for the 5 different types of food.
And then this will be your API call, but I'm just going to use the data type instead.
Oh yeah, I've used this method in like 5 other places. So if we can fix it, it's going to be really, really helpful.
To search for recipes where the type. So this is where you would use your active one, right? Like you would say,
yeah.
and I get that from, there's an active, you said there's a plugin for that?
Yeah, active cell. There you go. Oh, hang on. Actually, is it active cell? I know there's a couple. Where is this? Right. Oh no, sorry. Repeating group visible. Oh shit. Oh no, now I remember why I couldn't do it. Repeating group visibility detector, but it doesn't do horizontal scrolling groups, I don't think.
That's okay. We can do horizontal. Let me just try a button and it doesn't give us a page here. So let me try an input.
I'm really sorry. I'm going to have to go in 8 minutes, but I've got a
That's
call.
okay, no worries.
You might not show up, but we'll see.
It's page number. Why doesn't it make the page number clear? I'll keep working on this. I'll see if I figure it out. I'm sure
That'd
there's
be
something
awesome.
we can do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really annoying that like I mean, look, and the annoying thing is that there is one bit of functionality that makes me think that well, Flickty Carousel, you can do go to specific cell. So it clearly
Right.
knows where the cells are. It just doesn't give you access
Right.
to it.
Yeah, like I think that's crazy the way that we have to manually figure out which page we're on.